All right. Hello, everyone, and welcome to a kind of a new show, Swiftly Built. In particular, we're going to be doing a little bit of a WWDC debrief this week. This is day 2 of WWDC, and I've got some friends on with me. If you all could take turns just saying hi. We'll start with you, Fernando. You're in the upper right corner.
Hi. So my name is Fernando. I've been an iOS developer for a long time, probably since the SDK came out. So it's been a while.
Nice.
I met Ben through Lambda, and we're here to have a little fun, WWDC fun.
Yeah. Dimitri, why don't you take a turn?
Hello, everyone. My name is Dimitri Bouniol. I've also been doing iOS and macOS development for what feels like forever. And I've also met this fine group of folks over at Lambda teaching iOS development. So it's pretty cool to take this perspective on what's been announced this week.
Awesome. Paul, your turn.
Hey, I'm Paul Solt, and I've been an iOS developer and Mac developer for many years. I've worked for Apple, Microsoft, and Lambda School, and I do a bit of code tutorials on YouTube, so you can find me there. I'm very into coffee.
In fact, you're working on a coffee app. You're so into coffee.
Yeah, it's been a passion project for the past 5 years.
Nice. All right, so I think it would be cool to chat a bit about WWDC and what we've seen. Today was the first day of sessions. We had the keynote and the platform State of the Union happen yesterday, but today Apple released a whole bunch of different session videos. So I thought it'd be fun to kind of chat about what we've seen so far, what we're excited about. Maybe if you've played with something already, love to hear your thoughts on kind of what we're all going to get to spend the summer learning about and using. Who wants to go first?
I guess I'll go first. So I think the elephant in the room is macOS's big, brand new redesign. And that's probably the most striking difference between the previous versions and the new versions that are going to come out. I'm interested to hear all of your thoughts on what you think about like the new alerts, the bigger, bolder, rounded corners, the more spacing, the different icons.
It kind of feels like it's more touchable. Like that was the initial takeaway when they're like, let's add a little bit of extra padding. I was like, okay. And then you've got like controls that look very similar to iOS. So it feels like we're on this transition path where it might ultimately merge, but maybe not this year.
They sold it like we're unifying we're being consistent, which I agree it's consistent. But like before, I used to believe like, no, they'll never merge them. Like they're totally different systems.
Right.
And then they said, yeah, and you can run iOS apps on macOS now. And I'm like, oh, okay. So UI and apps.
In fact, iOS and iPadOS apps are going to default to Mac OS unless I guess you opt out in the fall. So we all have been conscripted to be Mac developers, whether we like it or not.
And I actually wonder if a lot of the changes that they brought to macOS 11 now, if they brought them so that way those iPhone apps don't look so out of place when they do come over.
I think overall it looks. I like the sort of freshness of the redesign. I like the sort of like multiple panes of glass idea. I think I like the new sidebar. I need to learn more about it, but something that they've done for iOS, iPadOS, and macOS is they're going to bring out a new kind of navigation style where you can use a sidebar. It seems like it's basically sort of a little bit better version of a hamburger menu. So I think on macOS it makes a lot of sense. I think it makes a lot of sense on iPadOS because of the larger screens. I don't know if it's going to be a great mechanism for purely like iPhone-sized applications because it seems like that sidebar panel is going to be so hidden that it'll be hard for people to discover that, which is kind of the classic problem of things like a hamburger menu. It makes it hard to discover those things. So tab bars might make more sense on iOS, but in general, I like the idea of it, and give us more options, more I guess an ability to get to more screens more easily and like a flatter design.
Isn't it just a navigation page on iPhone, I would guess?
Yeah, so I actually I don't think I've seen it on iOS particularly. I've seen it on iPad and Mac. I'm not sure. It might be the case, Dimitri, that when you look at it, you're looking at only just the navigational controls, and then you tap and it takes you into that content. I'm not sure. So then, like, how do you get back to that? It maybe is one of the questions, right? Which could lead to discoverability issues. I mean, that's what's wrong with the hamburger menu is that people don't know to tap it, and I think also users are afraid to tap things for fear of ruining the app in some way, and it can lead to them just not ever tapping it and then not knowing that it's there. So pros and cons, but I do like the unifying nature of some of what they're doing, so that for one, it hopefully will lead to a little bit less work on our parts and not have to completely reinvent the wheel every time we want to release something for a different platform.
Yeah,
but
it was a shock for sure, right? When they showed the first screenshot, I was like, why? I honestly was like, I don't know how to feel about this. Like, my OS, like I started on Panther 10.3, I think. So OS 10 is all I've known, and this was like two worlds colliding, where it's like I'm sitting on my desk, I'm in one world, I'm on my iPhone, I'm in another world, and now it's like they're merging, which is, I don't know, it's just weird. Not
Yeah.
weird bad, but just weird.
Yeah. I mean, just wait till we're on ARM Macs, and then the lines between the platforms will be blurred even further, right?
Yep. Which brings me to an interesting question, and I think we briefly spoke about this, but the iOS apps running on Mac, like, what do you guys think about that?
Just as is, or
Yeah, we know very little, of course, but
right.
I think it's gonna be a little rough if they're just auto enabling iOS apps on Mac.
Yeah.
Just kind of they're going to be doing like another culling where it's going to be like, okay, we're taking these apps off the App Store because you didn't update from 32-bit to 64-bit. I think we're going to see something like that. But it also sort of scares me that it's like it's an opt-out rather than like an opt-in. So like the developer's not taking the initiative because like there's a lot of apps where you might not want that same experience on Mac.
Right.
Of course.
I mean, look, if you look at like the developer, the WWDC, or just the developer app in general that's now on Mac OS, it definitely feels a lot like an iPad app that they just quickly ported to the Mac because it doesn't really support the mouse very much. Like you have to use the back button, and it's this like panel sliding thing, and it just doesn't feel very Mac-like. And I think if developers don't really do anything to make their app more Mac-like, you'll end up with just a sea of apps that are like that, right? Where it's just like, this is clearly an app designed for touch that was very quickly and hastily ported over to Mac OS.
I think that opt-in button that you mentioned, Paul, that is Catalyst. So if you don't do anything, you're opting out of like optimizing it in any way, but you can still use it, which I think is great. Like, it's better to have something than nothing.
So I have to interrupt you. Like, what exactly is Catalyst?
So Catalyst is basically stapling on extra stuff to your iOS app so that way it behaves better on the Mac. And not only that, it will allow it to run on Intel Macs, which are still going to be here for the next 3-4 years at the very least. So if you don't do that, then your app is never going to be on an Intel Mac, right? Because it's going to be an ARM-only compatibility with an existing iPhone or iOS app. So if you want to make it available on a few more Mac systems than what is going to be available, then you need to check that checkbox for Catalyst and do a bit of extra work to make sure that your app looks good on the Mac. And then that's the opt-in, you know?
Yeah, I mean, hopefully that will maybe like the shove that Apple's giving to everyone by saying your iOS apps are going to be on the Mac might be enough of then a catalyst, pardon the pun, to get to get people to actually check the box and actually try and make some differentiation and make it better. I mean, quite frankly, I would actually rather use the iOS Slack app on my Mac than I would the actual Slack Mac app, because it's not really a Mac app. It's just a web app with a native wrapper around it. So even with kind of like the problems with using an iOS sort of touch-based app on the Mac, I still think that would be a better experience than using the sort of desktop Slack app. So I think on balance, it'll probably be a win in general because we'll have more native apps on the Mac. But if they're, if the experience is just poor because it's not designed for the Mac, that I guess is maybe better than nothing, but obviously they could do better by actually making it more customized. And I'm also hoping that things like the cursor support on iPadOS will maybe make more apps a little more like mouse friendly, even if they're not designed for the Mac, and that might help make the iPad version of those, or sorry, the Mac version of those apps a little better. I mean, I'm just sort of speculating here, but I all of those signs kind of make me feel like maybe we're like pointed in the right direction. We're not going to get there in one step, and it's going to be kind of rocky, but hopefully we're kind of heading in the right direction.
I mostly agree, but let me play like devil's advocate a little bit.
Sure, of course.
The Mac has always been quality over quantity historically, because we've been like a minority, right? Windows has always been the dominant, Mac OS, so it had to become quality over quantity. And iOS, I think we know that it's quantity over quality. Like, due to the fact that you've like making a money out of the App Store is like a lottery. Like,
so
it's
many
just
apps.
pump out apps. Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's exactly what while you were talking and saying like, well, we're getting a lot. Well, that is true. We're getting a lot, and I'm like, wow, some iOS apps I do want to use on my Mac, but then I was like, iOS apps are, and I'm an iOS developer. It's just like in general.
Yeah.
You guys know.
Yeah. I hope that it'll be sort of in the end. I hope it'll be a net positive. But you're right that like the onslaught of crappy iOS apps on the Mac is not really a win.
Like I can't wait for my mom to call me and like, hey, I subscribe to this $100 a week subscription on my Mac. How do I get out of it? It's like, no, not again.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. I'm just looking through my apps trying to figure out like if there's any here that I would really want to use on my Mac.
I mean, honestly, I don't even use all that many apps nowadays.
Agree.
Yeah.
Like, I've downloaded hundreds, probably.
I'm also an app hoarder.
Very many of them.
I have probably like, I don't know, 150 apps on my phone, and I probably use 20 of them, maybe. Like,
I love Siri's suggested apps.
Yeah.
I go to that rather than use my home screens.
Right.
No,
I do that all the time.
It doesn't know.
Same,
I type the
same.
first letters, and that's that.
Yeah.
So what do you guys think about privacy though? Like, I ditched Facebook a long time ago, but Instagram is like still something that I use constantly. And using the app version instead of the web version, do you guys think there's a win there?
The web version is terrible.
No, right. I'm talking a little bit more about privacy because it's terrible.
Yeah,
that's a given. That the web version is terrible.
I think privacy is definitely a good thing. My biggest question is like, can you get better analytics than what Apple's providing? And I don't know. I saw something in the lineup that they might have some new API or something. If you have something that's more sort of Apple kosher friendly, privacy in mind, I think that would be nice instead of using something like Google Analytics or Mixpanel or all these other frameworks that do all kinds of data spelunking with all the stuff that you give them. So I think it's a big win for the consumer. On the development side, I still want analytics because I want to know what features my users are using, but I don't need to know extreme details. I just need to know, like, are they even going to this screen? Like, is it even worthwhile, or can I just remove it?
Yep, agreed.
Yeah. Again, I think that, it's a pro and a con. Like, it could be it could be a win, right? Like, for example, the Instagram web experience is terrible, so probably having the iOS version is better than nothing. And the thing is, Instagram's never going to make a Mac Instagram app. It's just like they've had plenty of time to do it, and they're clearly not interested. So it's not going to happen. So the only way you're going to get a native experience, I think, for some applications is when Apple kind of pulls people along and says, yeah, well, we're just going to provide it for you anyway with the thing you already have. So I think in those cases, it might be a net win, but certainly not as good as if those companies were to actually create real Mac experiences.
Mm-hmm.
But, better than nothing, again, I think is the key there.
And last I heard, there's still a big Objective-C shop. Like when I talked to them last year, it was all Objective-C for Instagram.
Wow.
So I'm interested if they're going to get on board with SwiftUI or anything like that moving forward, or if they're just going to keep their talent focused on Objective-C for the foreseeable future.
Yeah, in the chat where Rio brings up the idea that in iOS 14 they're adding more dialogues for when devices want to connect to different networks, and so they were testing and found when you open Facebook, it said Facebook would like to find and connect to devices on your local network. This app will be able to discover and connect to devices on the networks you use.
That's weird.
Those kinds of alerts are gonna hopefully force companies to be more responsible about that kind of thing, because those kind of messages are going to scare users into not using their services. So they're going to have to kind of rein that in, which, it's going to be a reckoning, but I think that's a good thing.
So they're connecting to your Wi-Fi network and looking for other computers and logging that all.
So
apparently,
where it's just listening on Bonjour, because that's what it is. It's
anytime you
listen on any local services, it's going to show that dialogue. And you can be creepy about that by just starting it up when your app launches, or you can be less creepy about it and starting it up when the user does something that warrants it.
Right.
It's like an app asking for all 6 permissions at once at the beginning versus like waiting until you actually use the camera and go, oh, can I have access to the camera, please? Right.
I don't trust you yet.
And ultimately, I feel like asking for all 6 probably works better for the layperson who does not know how any of this works. They're like, oh, finally, they're not asking 6 times.
Right. Plus,
get me into the app.
Plus, when you launch the app, you're like, yeah, whatever. Click. Just get me into the app, right? You're more likely to say yes because you're not reading it. That's true. It's a dark pattern that probably mostly works out. I mean, obviously works out in the favor of the app, and probably in general works out in favor of the user experience too, because most people just don't care about privacy. But I certainly would rather them wait until I need to use something and then go, okay, you're about to use this. Do you want to allow this to the app to have access to it?
And they're doing that for the baseboard too, which that is awesome, because that is the creepiest thing of you copied something. This random app is like, oh, hey, I got your baseboard.
Right.
And you have no idea.
Yeah. Again, I think something that's going to freak people out, but like in a good way, right? Sort of wake people up to what their devices are actually doing and what these apps are doing. Why don't we jump into a couple of things that we haven't ever worked with before? Does anybody have a session or a piece of technology that they learned about today that they wanted to kind of quickly chat about? I've got a couple, but I wanted to give you all a chance to chime in with like something brand new that's hasn't been around until iOS 14. And if you don't have anything handy, I've got one I can jump in with.
Yeah, go for it.
Start us off.
So I learned about app clips a little bit today, and also widget kit. So I'll talk about app clips because I've got more notes on that one anyway. Basically, they're like little apps, little sort of a piece of your app rather than the entire app itself. And in the video, I just watched the one video. It's called Explore App Clips on Apple's website. So if you want to check out that session video, that's the one I watched. And they do a quick overview of it, and then they take you through a really quick little demo of an iOS app that already exists, and then how they added the clip to the project, and how they set it up. So it's basically just another target, like anything else, like a watch kit thing or an extension for the Today screen or anything like that. It's just an extension that you add to your app bundle. They need to be very small, and you want to sort of target pieces of your application. So if you have a flow that has 10 screens in it, you're probably not going to expose all of those screens to the app clip, maybe only some of them. So you set up your source code literally to add certain source code to the target and leave other source code out of the target, right? You want to keep the bundle small. They actually are going to require you to be under 10 megabytes in total size for that.
Can you have multiple?
You can.
Clips?
Yep.
Okay.
You can have multiple app clips. So you can actually like tie into different things, different flows inside your app. The example they gave was a smoothie app, a smoothie shop app. So like you go into the smoothie shop and you want to order a smoothie. So they put in probably, I don't know, half or less of the total source code files that were there. And then it was really a pretty easy matter of once they got the target added and they got the source code added and the resources that they needed, they were able to run the app clip just like you would any other app in Xcode, and it will launch the app clip on your device. And then what they did was they showed how you could order a smoothie, and it'll even, they have like a little bit of like delivery, your smoothie is ready kind of stuff. So they showed that, and it was like a full experience, including Apple Pay. So like you can even order and pay for your smoothie without ever actually installing the full blown like smoothie shop app, which I think is going to be really great for places, companies and businesses that you might go to maybe like semi-frequently, and you want to have access to the ability to order, but you don't want to necessarily install the app. So they're going to make it available through links. You can get the clip through a link that you click on, like if somebody sends it to you in a message or something, or you get it from the web. And also later this year, they kind of showed this off at the keynote. They're going to have these like badges that people can put up,
like QR codes.
Yeah, and it's actually two things. So it's actually a QR code and an NFC code. So you can either scan it with your camera and get the clip, or you can tap it with your NFC enabled phone and get the clip. So it's actually, it has, the little sticker has both like visual and sensory type activation, which I thought was pretty cool.
Did you say via link?
Yeah, so you can also do it via link. So like if like I send you the app clip link, Fernando, then you can click on it and it will then initialize the app clip on your device. Or if like you have the link on your website, and I think kind of like how you can now say like open this in an app, right? Like on the website, if you go to like the website, they can put a little thing in there that if you click on a button, it will then take you to the app store to install the app. The same thing will be possible with these. You can say like open the app clip and it will do that. And what's really cool is that it doesn't take you to the app store. It just checks to see if you can launch the app clip. And if you cannot, because you don't have it, it will automatically download, install, and launch the clip for you on iOS, which I thought was pretty cool. There's no like go to the app store and click a button.
While the dialogue is up, right?
Yeah, while the dialogue is up, it does all that in the background, pulls it down, and then makes it available to you. And it's also like Kali's saying in the chat, it's deep linked. So like the app, like you said, Paul, can I have more than one? You can. Different app clips can deep link into different portions of your app. So that you could have like an ordering flow, you could have, a browsing flow or whatever. And so you can have multiple app clips that do different things.
So the app link is a separate target, but it is the same as an extension in that you need to publish an app to the App Store.
Yes, I don't think you can have only a clip. Like you can have only a Watch OS app now, right? Like that's the thing you can have as an independent target. I don't think you can do that with app clips. You have to have an iOS app, and then you can add this as an extension to that and put that all together in the App Store. But I might be wrong, but I don't think you can have clips only.
But that's always just amazing, because if you have an app and you want to share something with someone, you don't even need to have them install the app.
Right? Yeah. Right.
But they install this small app. It's like
it doesn't.
Absolutely. But the process is like, do this thing instead of
click
like
this link or scan this QR code, and like that's it. And then there's no other steps. It just all the other steps happen automatically.
Instead of like, go to the App Store, create an account, add me as a friend. And that's awesome. That's really awesome.
And then
something I thought about when that was being shown during the keynote is rather than this being used for like the typical commerce type of ways, as an indie app developer, like you could totally use this as a way to demo a portion of your app. Like if you have on your website or via a Twitter link, say, hey, go ahead and try this out. There's no table stakes. You just tap that link and you can play around with it, and it would just go poof if you're not interested. And
does this work for Mac or not?
Probably not.
I think only
because like if it's
iOS.
Catalyst.
No, I'm kidding.
If we're doing Catalyst, do we get it or is it a no-go?
That I don't know.
It just pops up. Would you like to pay for parking?
So the one thing that they stressed though was that it is meant to be ephemeral in that iOS is going to manage it staying on the device. And so basically it sounds like there's like a time to live, like a TTL on it, where it downloads, installs, and it's there. And if they close it and they don't use it, right? Let's say tomorrow they come back to the same coffee shop and they scan the same QR code. Since the app clip's already on your device, it doesn't have to do any of that work. You can just pull it up. But then if they don't use it for a while, iOS will, at its own discretion, delete the resources. And so they say in the video that as a developer, you should be careful not to like expect it to exist once it's downloaded the first time. But they even have
said notifications, right?
Yep, you can do notifications. Yep. You can use Apple Pay. You can do what else? There's a variety of features. You can even have like location access and some other access to certain like sensitive user data is limited, but you can access things like location. There's some kind of a location authorization API that is new, that is not the same as like the traditional way that you would do that, where you can still like make sure that they are where you think they are, but they kind of glossed over it. I need to look it up to see exactly what they're talking about, but something to the effect of like you can get location data in a way that is like privacy focused and temporary, so that you can still make sure that like they're in the coffee shop, but that you don't you don't have like undue access to their location like forever. But then you can even create a data container that is shared between the clip and the app. So they also recommend that you do things in the app to promote the user to try and get the full app if they find your little clip useful, like as a way to upsell them. And you can set it up so that if they do have data in the clip that you want to transfer, you can put it in a shared data container. And then when they install the full app, you can then have the full app go in, read that container, and bring the data over to the full app, so that the data that you've stored is fully transferable. And then for the user, it's a pretty seamless experience. From like, I used the app clip for a couple of days at the coffee shop and decided, you know what, this is really useful. I want to download the full Starbucks app. I can then just click install, and it'll just move all my stuff over. So I think if you do it right, it sounds like it would be a really great way to kind of create that upselling path, like from clip to full app to potentially like, a purchase or a subscription or whatever it is that you're going to do to
and monetize. There's the new SK overlay, I think, in StoreKit that allows you to download an app from within an app. So I'm assuming that's what you could use to do it, unless they have something else within the app clip framework.
No, they mention the SK overlay specifically as like the way that you should do that. So it sounds like that's the official way.
Nice. Awesome. Yeah. I think the app clips could be super cool for like non-traditional things like books. So I've been thinking about publishing like a little coffee manual, and having the ability to have like a little app clip QR code in there, I think would be a fantastic way to quickly get into the app.
Could you even pay like for ads? You could, right? Because an ad is just a link.
What do you mean?
Like, I'm on my Instagram feed. I see a sponsored post for Paul's app. I tap that, and instead of like downloading, like going to the App Store, and I'm like, no, I don't want to do that. It's like, hey, try out this, like Jimmy said, right? Try to flow, and then boom, you're in there. Oh, I like this. I can download it. Oh, I didn't like it. That's all.
Yeah.
So there's a URL that you could potentially.
Well, it's all URL based. You said, right?
Yeah, it's all URL based.
Yeah.
So you can share it through URLs.
That's probably how the NFC works too. It's just vending a URL.
Yeah, I'm sure.
This
and
sounds
and the QR code too, right?
Yeah, this sounds like they're gonna backtrack a lot. Because it's just the URL, right?
Because
the hammer is coming down.
Well, and the idea that you just had, Fernando, is like if they didn't think of it until now, I'm sure that somebody has thought of that, right? And like that's going to be super pervasive. Which, I mean, I don't know. it's still a native app. It's still they're taking security and privacy very seriously. So I think
we'd be at
the
the
main
mercy
thing-
of the ad network. Sometimes
Yeah.
they have certain restrictions.
right.
And on the positive side, I'd be way more likely to tap on a link and have it open like an app. What's it named?
App clips.
Clip.
An app clip than the stupid games where like,
Yeah.
download our app. No, I'm
Uh-huh.
never gonna do that. But if like it's a clip and you open up to the first
Yeah.
level, now that's
Right, yeah.
engaging.
Yeah.
You pass the first level, and then it's like, oh, download the whole thing, and you're like,
Right.
okay.
Yeah.
Exactly. So that's really interesting. Really
Meanwhile,
interesting.
Instagram is like, oh, your eyeballs, come back, please.
Right. Please come back to Instagram.
Yeah.
Nice. Well, there's a question in the chat I wanted to mention. I wanted to reference Shiteki in the chat. Asks, do you have to create specific screens for the clip? No, you can actually reuse the screens that are in your main iOS app bundle. So when I watched the video, they had an app with what looked like probably at least maybe 10 or 12 screens. And they picked, I think, let's say 4 or 5 of them to be part of the clip. And they just literally included them as part of the target that makes up that app clip bundle. So what looked really cool about it is that they created this whole entire experience in 10 minutes on this session video. Granted, they already had fully built the iOS app, so you'd want to be, if you were in that position, adding an app clip looks pretty easy. I'm pretty sure that app was also fully Swift UI, so there was no storyboard, there was none of that. So again, that makes it those things even more modular and that much easier for you to say, include these things with this other target, and then it just kind of works. But if you're in that scenario, it looks like it would be pretty trivial to make, as many as 3 or 4 different app clips for different things. I could see like, if you had a big store, for example, in like the commerce sort of style, different departments could even have different QR codes that went to different parts of the app to shop for that different kind of content that they had in that part of the store or something. That's just as an example. So there are, I think, scenarios where multiple clips might even make sense.
Couldn't you send, like, this is just amazing and it's blowing my mind. Couldn't you send an app link that's like a redeem screen? Like for redeeming your, like just inviting someone to download the app instead of like sending them the code. I don't really know how that works, but
instead of like a token, right? Giving them a token to download the app for free, you could send them a clip instead.
Right, because this WWDC, they introduced something that like you could present a screen where you could input the like a redeem token for your app.
Oh, for like in-app purchases?
Yeah,
So I would guess that would be highly against the guidelines, because then you are like selling them, and you're not allowed to sell them or give them away.
No, no. I just meant like it would be, I don't know how the
right? Are you saying
yes,
instead of? Yeah, you can, and they do. So they do say in the session that it's fine to encourage people to sort of upgrade from the clip to the full app inside. Provide opportunities in the clip to do that. They encourage you to like make sure that the user does something meaningful first before you just like bombard them with an ad to upgrade to the full app. We'll see how many people actually honor that, but that is the idea. Is like let them order a smoothie and then say, if you really like this experience, click here and we'll jump you to the App Store or to that SK overlay where you can go ahead and get the full app if you use it all the time. They also did say that time to live that I was talking about, where it like keeps the clip on your device for a certain period of time. If you use the clip more, it will extend that time to live. So in theory, you could like go to your favorite coffee shop every single day and tap on the thing to launch the clip and order your coffee for months and never actually install the full app, because you're like, I'm happy with what I've got. I don't need the full app. I have what I need. It'll keep that clip on the device. Basically, it sounds like as long as the user is using it regularly. And that means that experience can just, it can be, once they've kind of set it up, it can be good for the entire time rather than like constantly being deleted and having to be reinstalled. So like they've really kind of thought through a lot of the different use cases.
Yeah.
So I could see myself like I've been envisioning a couple new screens in my app, and like one of them is just calculating coffee ratios, and it's like a super simple request.
Yeah.
But like there could be some call to action. It could be in a coffee shop. It could be somewhere else. Like I could white label it or something.
Yeah.
And then it's just like pop up.
Right.
And it's specific for that shop.
Yeah. That use case sounds like a perfect use case for a clip.
Yeah. If you can white label it, like the store doesn't even need to do anything. Like literally doesn't need to do anything.
And that was the session they talked about like with Yelp, sort of like creating clips for other businesses.
Man, do I hate it when you click on a link inside of like the Apple Maps app that's a Yelp link, and it's like, you don't have the Yelp app installed. I'm like, I don't. Can you just show me the information? I don't want to install the Yelp app.
Nobody does. Anyway, I'm sorry, guys, but I have to run.
Yeah, we should be wrapping up anyway. So thanks to everyone for coming and hanging out with us and chatting. We're going to be doing this again tomorrow, same time, 8 p.m. Eastern time. I'm going to have some Lambda iOS graduates on, so some students that have gone through the Lambda School program and are on the process of getting an iOS developer job. So we'll have them on as guests, and we'll talk about the sessions that we see tomorrow. Thank you to Dimitri, Paul, and Fernando for coming on and hanging out with me. It was really fun.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
Have a good night, everybody.
Bye.
Bye.